Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we have Michael Kieran with us today. Goes by MK. MK, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So where are you from?
Ottawa, Canada. Do you know where that is? I think it's like due north of you.
Yeah, it's East
Yeah.
Coast?
Yeah, East Coast, Eastern time zone. That's the most important part, but kind of like halfway in between Montreal and Toronto to be really rough. Due north of northeast US cities, you probably know.
Yeah, for sure. I have not been, but I would love to actually spend more time in Canada. It hasn't really happened. I've been to Victoria
Yeah.
and just it was on a cruise and we stopped there.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
with not, not a whole lot of time, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah. I think Canada's great to visit. Unless you have things you love to do in the snow, I would recommend that you come between June and October.
yeah.
Actually, years ago, I had one group in London and one group in San Francisco, and we wanted to do an offsite for talent team. So I brought everybody to Montreal, and we went to one of the big ski hills here, Mont Tremblant, and did an offsite there. But the coolest part, we was went dog sledding for a group that nobody had really been in the snow much, and we had full husky troop, and yeah, it was pretty special.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'd love to do something like that. I've never done anything like that. Um,
Well,
that's
if
pretty
you're ever
cool.
up this way, I'll take you dog sledding.
Yes. All right, I'm down. I will take you up on that. So,
All right.
yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Um, well, vice versa. If you're ever down in the DC area, you gotta let me know.
Yeah.
Have you been down here?
I think I've driven through, but I've
Okay.
never stopped. Yeah,
It's worth stopping by, man, for a few days. You only need like 3 or 4 days.
yeah.
You
We're
don't need.
both like in capital cities, right? So that
Yeah.
brings this, there's a level of conservatism that just happens in
Yeah.
this when you have a lot of federal employees with extraordinarily steady income and
Oh, I
job.
don't. That's not necessarily the case in the U.S. anymore, man.
I know,
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's volatile.
Right.
That's like
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
spiky industry now working for the feds. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird. It's like, wait, I'm in like private industry and it feels a little more stable than government, which is like, when the hell did that happen? I'm like, I
Yeah.
work in tech. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But well, yeah, man. And so you were born there, but
Yeah.
you moved at a pretty young age, right?
Yeah. 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 When
Yeah.
I was three. So when I was three, so my dad's Canadian. Like he was, born here and things. My mom's actually from Uganda in Eastern Africa, and he met her years ago when he was doing work there. He's always done developmental work with the governments there on like public-private partnerships in rail and ports and things like that. And he met her. My little brother tells the best story about it, about at a Christmas party, and he like did some 70s hip slide move up to her or something like that. But anyhow, so he went back to Canada and they stayed in touch, like just writing to each other. And then he eventually sent her it was a round trip ticket. There was a war going on at the time, and she just never took the trip home. And so we lived in Canada. That's where I was born. And then he got a job with the Tanzanian government when I was three. So we moved there, and I lived there from when I was three till when I was 8 years old. Yeah, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Yeah,
And you were telling me too that well, I'm sure that was like incredibly formative experience and somewhat of a unique experience for somebody that grew up in that's from Ottawa initially, right? And from North America.
yeah,
Um, it's like a big question, but I mean, I'd love to just kind of dive into like what that was like and some of your
sure.
memories there and maybe some of the most impactful things that you experienced while you lived over there.
Yeah. It was incredibly different. I went to an international school, which basically was people that were also not from Tanzania going to one common school. So I grew up in an environment where my set of friends, one was from Sweden, one was from Japan, one was, you know what I mean? It was very normal. Like we did this like we are the world thing, singing that to parents at Christmas time. And it didn't feel like a fantasy. Like it was all very normal. This idea, this harmonious international community was what I really grew up in, which was amazing. But it also created, to be honest with you, a lot of naivety for me as well when I came back into North America. Other pieces that were, really special was we were right by all the big park. So for us going to like Serengeti for a weekend and actually setting up tents, like we go often enough that we wouldn't stay in lodges and things. We'd literally pitch tents in the middle of the park. Sometimes that meant elephants walking by your tent, which was pretty sketchy when you're.
No, man, how close?
Oh, like I remember one time my dad was legitimately scared because he thought that they were going to get wrapped up in our ropes and then just start
No.
crashing, right? But he was always putting us in these sketchy situations. Like he thought it was kind of fun and stuff like
Well, this
that.
is pretty
You
fun.
know, it's fun. It's like that, like, well, we all kind of crave it, that like proximity to danger. Trust
Right.
me, as a kid, I felt it a lot. Like, but yeah, really close. I mean, literally like 3 feet.
Are
Uh,
they like pretty docile or are they could they be aggressive? Like
oh,
they
don't get
seem
big.
like
Yeah, they're defensive, like they're territorial and they're docile, but don't you get close to them, they'll like look at you, which is the first warning. Like an elephant squares up to you, back up. It's basically
yeah.
that's its way of saying like too close. And too close is within 10 feet. Like that's way too close. You're likely to get charged. And
So they
yeah,
let you get pretty like so it sounds like they're like pretty reasonable. They're like, all right, look, like you're kind of annoying me in your like my peripherals, but it's fine. Just like be aware, like I see you. Like
yeah, but it's
yeah.
also like I'm trying to think of an animal that acts in a similar way. I don't know if there is one. I said 10 feet. I would not go 10 feet within an
No,
elephant.
dude,
I
I
don't know why I
definitely
said
wouldn't.
10 feet. I've been within 10 feet of one and survived it, but I wouldn't recommend anybody goes
Yeah,
within 10 feet
anybody tuning
of
in,
an
like,
elephant.
don't just,
Yeah.
don't just be like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like
I
MK said,
remember
it was fine.
Yeah, I remember one time we were backing up. We were driving in somewhere. It was late. We got in at like late, late. I mean, like 2 in the morning.
Oh
My dad
man.
stops the car, and like I'm all the way in the back. We're in this. They call them Pajero. It's an old SUV, and I'm in the back, like back, like by the windows, sitting on suitcases. And he backs up, and I think it's this giant rock that like the brake lights is shining onto. And then we stop there, and then the rock just turns around and goes, like huge ears, turns around, and of course, car stalls, and this thing's going, and I think I still couldn't tell you if he did it on purpose and he was messing with us. But that got my heart rate up. That was like,
Yeah.
more intense than any interval training version. Probably spiked to 195 in about 10 seconds. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So lots of fun
you
experiences.
thought it
Yeah.
was a rock, but it was an elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a interesting life experience right there. That's wow.
Especially when you're 4 or 5 years old, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, at 34, like that's still like a crazy experience.
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. I was just wondering, like, so were there any other close encounters?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I go on and on and on. Like, I remember one. So my favorite place in East Africa it's called Ngorongoro is the name of the park, and Ngorongoro Crater is this volcano that it erupted many years ago. I want to say somewhere in the range of like 100,000 years ago. And on the inside, the volcano is so large that if you can drive up the side of it, which is all full of like lush vegetation, then you get to the peak of the edge, and inside is like I'll say it in miles, but it's probably like somewhere around 400 square miles on the inside of flat land with a lake, and it's all lush, full of animals. It's an entire park, and then you drive down into the park, so you're in this, and it feels like you're just surrounded by mountains. It's wow, gorgeous, gorgeous spot. But I remember one time we were driving up the side, and again, my dad stops. And by the way, on these trips, usually you have a guide. That's the way you should do it. You should have a driver who takes you around. He was always, I mean, he's the one white guy driving in the whole park every single time. And um, I'll tell you two quick stories. This one we pull up, and there's literally three lions sitting like on the side of the road here at like eye level for me. And my dad goes, oh, stops like this. Now we're like, I don't know, I'm not kidding, 6 to 10 feet from them. And he rolls down the window and he's like, wow, take a look, guys. And me and my brother, I've got a brother who's a year younger than me. So we're at the time called it 7 and 6 or something like that. And I'm And I don't want to tell my dad that I'm scared. So I say like, this is boring. Let's go. I'm bored. My mom still loves to talk about that. But yeah, so anyway, nothing happened except for again, a little heart rate spike. But yeah, there was lots of little experiences like that. Yeah, I think it's developed a, sometimes a courage in certain situations, maybe. Some sort of like inner, like
Right.
small primal thing that exists that like,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. No, it's like you're, you know, offer declined. You're like, I stood face to face with a lion when I was 6 years old. Like,
Yeah,
this is
I
not
mean,
good.
I sat there and watched. The real tough guys are the Maasai that live in the park. What
Yeah.
they do when they're so part of their rite of passage as a boy, like when you turn 13, is you go out with the tribe. You have a spear, and
Wait,
with the
so who are,
tribe,
sorry, just like some quick background on this. So
yeah.
who are we talking about?
So the Maasai is like a tribe that's lived in different parts of East Africa and certainly been like the men slash people in some of these major parks that you see in clips like Serengeti and
So
Masai Mara.
Masai is the name of the tribe? Or
Exactly. Yeah,
okay.
exactly. And you might have seen they usually have like the women wear these necklaces that stretch their necks. They have like
Mhm.
droopy ears from like stretched out earrings. They're usually wearing a red, almost like a cloak, which is really like blood stained from cow blood. And they're badass. Like I mean, so to give you an idea, that at 13 years old, your rite of passage to becoming a man is you go out with the tribe, all of you on foot. They surround a lion, a male, and you at 13 go into the middle of the circle with the lion, and your rite of passage is to kill that lion.
You're
Yeah.
kidding me.
No, they all go through that. I think they eventually like slowed it down as like nature preserve environmentalists and things like that.
Yeah.
But that has been the yeah, that's how you become a man.
Was
And
and you have a spear.
yeah,
Or do you
I have one here.
you do?
Yeah. So the idea is it's like call it a 7 foot, 8 foot spear. And the back end of it is also a rod of metal. So the idea is you plant that in the ground, you have the line charge you, and the method is you actually have the spear stuck into the ground between your legs. It jumps, leaps like the Florida Panthers logo, and you fall backwards. Spear takes him, and he dies on the spear over you. That's the move.
13 years old.
Yeah, or not. And then you don't see 14, and then
Do
then
you know like
yeah,
the what percentage roughly of
lives through it.
yeah.
I don't think they do census reports, but
Yeah, right. But I mean
no, I
just
don't know. I don't know. I
yeah.
think most. I think most. Uh,
Most?
I'd say, yeah,
Man, that's
most.
wild. So
Yeah,
okay. I gotta
yeah, yeah. Take a look at it. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And what's
sorry,
funny,
what's the name of the group, the tribe again? It's a
yeah, Masai. So to give you an idea of like who they are, so they're always on foot in all these parks and things. And when you're in the parks, everybody's in there, in these Land Rovers, like proper SUVs. And, let's say lions are eating or there, people tend to kind of form this semicircle with some distance, pull up really quiet and things. And the lions are not bothered. But when they see Maasai walking, lions move. They are afraid. They're top of the food chain, top predator are the Maasai, not the lions or any other animal. Like their instinct when they see those red cloaks and they see them walking, they hide, they move.
that's wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they're bad.
I was looking it up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's not as common today.
No, that doesn't
Um,
surprise me at all. I don't
but
think it's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's incredible though. I've never actually heard of that.
I
So,
didn't do it or anything. I don't want to take I'm just telling you a story about
oh
something
yeah,
I
it's a really cool story.
it is,
So,
yeah.
with beside people, did your family ever have like, are they like kind of a remote tribe that doesn't interact with like other folks, or like, or do they interact as part of like modern society
The
as
Maasai?
well?
Oh, now they
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, now they
yeah.
definitely. And they're not, my lineage is Uganda, different tribes, not in the parks. I just had a lot of experience getting to know some of the Maasai folks. But yeah, they're definitely part of society now. Like, truth is, a lot of the parks today are so, like, the commercial opportunity is so massive
Mm.
that even the difference, we took a trip 2, 3 years ago, and it was so busy. And I get everybody's, I don't know if the word entitled to have the experience and things is there, but it was the amount of cars and like you go, it was heartbreaking in a lot of ways because it used to be something, even from my childhood, which is not that long ago, a couple of decades, but like not that long ago, there's a stark difference between how many people are in the park and how busy it is. And it takes away some of the like just the raw scenery experience when
Does.
there's just all these engines turning off and on and people yelling to each other and talking and things. Um, it's still an outstanding experience that I'd recommend to anybody, but I do think the glory days are over. I mean, I can only imagine what folks like, in the, let's call it like 1900s, 1920s colonialists coming over and like having their experiences. It must have been pretty fascinating to see just how different the world was operating. But anyway, we could spend a lot of time here. I know there's other stuff that you want to cover too. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then coming back to Ottawa when you were 8 years old, right?
yeah,
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 so you were 8 years old. That must have also been a big transition going
yeah,
back.
yeah. It was tough. I mean, I was always so excited to go to like North America. To us, but like that was always like they have everything. It's everything you could possibly want in life is there. It's amazing, awesome. And the truth is, like, we really do. You're lucky to be living, growing up in a first world country. It's very easy to take all the spoils for granted. Um, so that was great. But the part that was really disappointing for me and was I was talking about that naivety that I grew up with in part of this international school. So I remember, I think this probably sums it up really well. Is I remember in my there was this kid in grade. I came back and I was in grade 4, I guess, and there's a kid named Chris Demers. I'm gonna call him out. Hate you, Chris. Okay. That I still remember because of this joke he told, and it was, how do you count the population of Ethiopia? Um, Roll a Cheerio down the street. And he thought it was hilarious. And I remember being like so confused, right? Like as a kid that had seen real poverty, had seen disease, seen war, that the idea that this was a joke was that like, it's so funny because they're so hungry and they're all dying that the whole country would run after a Cheerio. And it was like, it broke my heart. And I remember I started crying in the classroom and he said like, oh, is your mom, what did he say? He's like, were you from Ethiopia? And I had to like find some way of justifying it. So I said, no, but my mom is, and she wasn't, she's from Uganda. But either way, I remember like being so hurt in that moment. Yeah, just that the overall lack of understanding of what some people in the world are actually going through and seeing. So it made it a tough, and then throw in that I was mixed kid with that I with adjusting, trying to find an identity. Um, so I found hip hop, and that solved all my problems. But it was so then yeah. I'm joking, but I'm not. But that definitely did find a little slot for me, and I was like, okay, yeah, this will work.
Helped you get through it.
Will Smith. All right, that's who I'm going to be. All right, I get it. How did I get through it? Oh, I stumbled through it. It wasn't until I was in grade 9, I think, that I really found a slot that I decided that made a lot of sense for me. And I was when I was 12, I was 5'6", had size 12 feet, and at the time, like Timberlands, those kind of construction boots were in. And so I'd asked my mom for some Timberlands. She, of course, got me construction boots that were steel-toed and 2 sizes too big because I was going to grow into them, she thought. So there I was, 5'6", probably 115 pounds soaking wet with my size 13 construction steel-toed boots. I remember kids pointing and being like, are those real? Are those really your feet? And I was on the basketball team and 17th man on a 12-man roster, made the team because of my little league baseball coach was also the basketball coach. And we went to the city championship game as fans because the senior team was playing in it. And in that game, there was a guy named Braden White, and Braden White looked like me. He was a mixed kid, and he was the best player in the city, and he was dunking in warm up, and I decided in that moment that that's who I was going to be. I was going to be the best player in the city, and we were going to go to the city championship game, and we were going to win it. And that really formed, the way that I behaved, the level of discipline, consistency, the way I executed against goals, not only for the next 4 years as I slowly, approached and ultimately, a lot of people would say achieved that goal as becoming the best player in the city. Um, but it really formed, my love for the process and belief in the process of like discipline, hard work, and consistently trying to achieve a goal.
Where do you think that comes from? Like this desire to be like great or the best?
It's fun. It's so fun. It's so fun to like test yourself and push yourself and then get the small wins along the way. Like that feeling, that internal you feeling you have when you're proud of yourself and you're proud of your progress is amazing. It's probably one of the most rewarding feelings you can have is setting a goal for yourself, not for others, but something you've decided internally is who you want to be and the things you want to do, and then going out and getting those things done and grinding through it is an outstanding feeling, and you crave more of it. So I think the process of trying to become the best is like, okay, what are the wins that need to happen along the way? And that becomes my fuel. And what's my goal? My goal is, yes, to become the best, but really the achievement is getting better all the time is actually more important. And if you want to do that, then setting a goal and a finish line of the best, it's got to be not impossible, but almost.
Yeah.
Shouldn't feel finish line is close. It should be distant. It should be rewarding to make progress. And it should at one point feel impossible. And then as you make progress, feel like it's getting closer and closer. I personally find that incredibly rewarding in every component of life. You can do that as in terms of who you want to be in your family. You can do that in terms of who you want to be with your work, for yourself, the way you take care of yourself. I think that putting in the time, effort to decide what it actually is you want to be, and then doing the things that bring you closer to it are extremely rewarding. I'll tell you that the nights that I don't sleep well, those are the days I didn't do what I said I wanted to do. I don't, if I do everything that I wanted to do that day and said I was going to do, it doesn't matter what life's throwing at me. I'll be fine, right? It's the days where you decide, you know what, maybe I won't today. I'm too tired. I'm too this. And you think you're doing yourself a favor by not committing to the things that you know are what you want to do. But the truth is, that's when your subconscious is like, you're not being who you want to be. So I'm going to be really loud now.
There's like, yeah, I think
Yeah,
there's like a couple of things there just to slow down on. It's like r- jumping around in a slightly different format or order, which is fine. I think we should just run with it. Like
yeah,
one of the things that you talked about, just like a top takeaway as like a talent acquisition leader,
yeah,
but I think it's probably a top takeaway in life in order to be the best at something or to reach our potential is to be consistent. And part of being consistent is it's like doing the work when you feel like you can't at times. Like I actually like that's something that I've really in the last year, I don't know, it's like every once in a while it's like I just find this next gear I can shift into, which I didn't think existed, but I'm just being pulled in this direction where you have to find that next level, right? Like you have to get to where you want to be. And that next level for me is like this insane level of consistency,
yeah.
which I don't frankly always achieve. I am holding myself to like a much higher standard there. Like actually it was even yesterday where I've had just a string of events over the last couple of weeks that have like I'm pretty good at absorbing shots and I can usually like I push through hard like consistently at this point in my career. You just sort of like you hit a wall and it's like 6 p.m. and I got a contract I got to get out. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I can just wait for tomorrow. Like, I don't have to do this. And it took like every ounce of energy to just sit down and like focus and get it done. But I'm convinced at this point in my career, it's like those moments where it's like you feel like you've given everything and you just like have no more mental capability to focus. When you can push through that, you also it's like you're training your brain. It's like you're conditioning it to make it
Totally.
stronger so next time it's a little easier and you can push even further. Right? It's like building any muscle, like the discipline and the ability to just push through those pain barriers, whether it's like psychological or physical. You need that. And that to me, that's a big part of consistency. That's where consistency can get hard. It's when it's like it's that really hard moments where you feel like you can't push any further.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
I don't know.
And
I
I
think
think,
about this stuff a lot too. Just,
uh, I think consistency, it's so simple, and nobody wants to give it credit for being hard, right? But the truth is, being hyper disciplined and consistent with how you allocate your time and the things that you commit to and do, um, it's hard. Take recruiters, you know, plenty, if not most recruiters have like a sourcing block, right? Like that's my sourcing time. They pop it on their calendars. But the truth is, a lot of the time, it's just catching up on Slack, getting some sourcing in, but whatever reactive, more interesting task comes up usually gets prioritized over that sourcing time. I know some that really block off that time, and they're all high performers. And it's again, it comes back to one of the things we were talking about with that in Atomic Habits, where he talks about the photography class that was graded one half on quality of a photo, one photo for the entire semester, graded on quality, and the other group graded on quantity. Just 100 photos, isn't it? And the quantity group ultimately ends up submitting better photos than the quality group because they had more time to execute and practice and get better. And I think that's the other thing with consistency on, let's stick with the sourcing example. The person that might be a master sourcer and is just a wizard with their messaging and finding people and their strength. Great. Maybe it doesn't take you as much time to find 10 people that you want to talk to, and you do it here and there and get it done. But I'll take the person who's a 6 on 10 at sourcing, who's like, every morning, I'm going to consistently do these things with high intensity, focus, and effort for an hour a day. Because fast track 12 months, 18 months, that person's skill set is growing at a rate that will surpass this other person's skill quite quickly. And I think that's where the consistency is really beneficial is you're getting practice, right? Like if you're
yeah,
executing with a level of consistency, then you're getting reps, you're getting better all the time, you're growing.
yeah.
Just leveraging your skill in the moment is great for performing in that moment, but did you actually develop and get better? Probably not. So I focus on consistency because it doesn't come as easily or naturally to me as it does to some people. So I know for me, that's the place that I'm really focused on is, yeah, that discipline, consistency, and ultimately trying to
Yeah.
practice
It's
better.
it's
That's
not something I would have considered a strength throughout my 20s either. And frankly, I'd say in the past year, I've like again, I found a gear that I didn't know existed. And it's like everything is changing, it's but it's hard because it's like when you're operating at the highest level, we talk about being the best. It's like you get to the point where you're 97th percentile or 99th percentile. But then what happens is the difference between the best and I feel like the runner up, it's like who's at 99 versus 99.1
yeah,
percentile. It's like those like
totally.
micro
Yeah,
shifts and it's the things that don't seem like a big deal are the things that drive you to that next level.
totally.
Like it's because I was looking at just some of my mentors throughout the years, like the most successful entrepreneurs. Because I run two companies, like that's why a big part of why I do the show is like my company sponsor the show,
Yeah,
and I look at like the top entrepreneurs, and they're insanely consistent and insanely responsive. And by the way, more people are reaching out to them asking for stuff than like anybody else, and yet they're on it. They're
Yeah,
responding within the hour. They're giving
yeah,
resources like
yeah,
hyper responsive, like super consistent.
yeah,
Um, it's like, and so it's like, okay, like frankly, and they all have like different backgrounds. Like maybe some like we're kind of like the tech MIT crowd. Some of them are like totally opposite than that. But like the common trait was like their communication is pretty strong. But it's if I had to point to like frankly like one underlying thing, beyond like business strategic acumen, there are elements of that, but like they're incredibly consistent
yeah,
and incredibly responsive.
yeah.
They're fast. They're fast. They execute quickly. They're consistent about it and they're responsive to people. It's like those things, right?
The beautiful thing about it is it is a skill that can be developed as well, right? Like it's not
Oh, for
just like
sure.
a gift, like I
It's a
am.
muscle, right? It's like it
Absolutely.
I see
Yeah.
it as like a muscle that we develop, but it's like going to the gym. It's hard to
Right.
develop it. It's like
Yeah. 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 And if you're on like if you're being honest with yourself about the goal of becoming better, then I think you have to establish what does the most consistent recruiter in the world do in a week? And like really like think about it. And it's not like you're going to be that tomorrow. But I think if you actually think about that, like if I ask myself, what's the most consistent talent acquisition leader? What's their week look like? All of a sudden now I have a bar on what consistency really needs to look like. And I think
yeah,
that we talked about this a little bit before, when you're setting goals as a function, as a team, as an individual, I think you have to start asking yourself what the best in the world is doing. And what does it really look like for you to
yeah,
actually understand what's possible and what progress you're trying to make? It's not about lapping that person or that idea you have in your mind, but it's about being really honest and realistic around what is possible and where am I against what's possible and where do I want to be? How much am I committed towards that goal and how much progress am I going to make? I think that's one of the ways that I'd like to work with teams is to really have working sessions around different areas that we might be focused on, whether that's candidate experience, whether that's quality of hire, and really start asking those questions around what's best in the world. What's best in the world on these things? And let's get really honest about that. Not compare it to who we are and what we're doing today, but what does that really look like? Okay, now where are we? Great. Now where do we want to be in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months? And then you start doing your planning and your goals against that. And you can get all the way down in quantifiable things that'll map out your progress and where you want to be. And it's super fun. Like you get the right group of people, and by right, I mean people that want to improve, want to get better all the time, and ultimately are looking at this as a craft. And that inspires them because they want to be growing. They
yeah.
want to do important work, and ultimately they want to be the best in the world at what they do too.
Yeah, I think it's a common misconception of people is setting what they feel like are achievable goals, like particularly in business or even as a parent or anything else. I don't ever set achievable goals, like or goals that are easily achievable. Like I'm always, not that they're not achievable. I shouldn't, I misspoke, but I don't set like reasonable goals, I think is a better way of saying it. I hate reasonable goals. Like I hate the word reasonable when it
Yeah,
comes to potential. Like it disgusts me. Like I literally the association in my brain is it's like a nasty thing to say.
right.
Yeah, this is like my psychology at this point. It doesn't have to be like traditional ambition in terms of like um I'm not talking about like making money or anything. I'm like, what I'm talking about is like, being present for your kids or like,
Right.
taking care of your health or, which both are obviously more important. Well, hopefully for most people, it's obvious, but your health or our families are more important. It doesn't mean we have to sacrifice one for another necessarily. I don't think that. I like this idea. We set like best case scenario goals, like whether that's being the best in the world or it's incredibly ambitious and it can be ambitious on how much you want to love and show for your kids. I'm not necessarily just talking about like work, but like to me, it's like everything is a formula. Like it's you set the goal and then it's our job to figure out like, well, what's the formula to make that happen? It's possible. It might even be unlikely. It might be very challenging, but there is a formula to make it happen. So let's just set the goal and if we're not achieving it, it's like, okay, well, not we're not achieving it yet, but like let's keep iterating until we figure it out. Like even for one of my companies, Secure Vision, which is an embedded recruiting and RPO firm, like the way that we set our goal for embedded recruiting deals that we close is based on an incredibly ambitious growth target. Like it's like, mid triple digits, right, for the company. And I straight up with the team was like, look, I don't know how long it's gonna take. Like, we may not hit this goal in month one, month two, month three, month four, month five.
That's
You
the
know,
worst.
like, to be frank, we've hit it like 1 month out of
Yeah.
four, right?
Yeah.
The point is like, it's not that we're failing if it doesn't happen, guys. Like, I'm not like, but the point is that this is the problem we're trying to solve. Like,
Yeah.
I want to get to the point where we're producing at this level month over month over month over month. Like, I don't even want a home run. I don't want us to just do it once. I want us to build
Right.
systems where
Yeah.
we can do it consistently, right? And like, that's how I think about like these like achieving that level of success, right?
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, celebrating small wins is important. But like North Star goals should be audacious, right? Like they
Yeah.
should be, I mean, going from good to great. I mean, that was one of the level 5 leadership traits, was BHAGs, like big, hairy, audacious goals. That was one of the consistent things about the companies that went from great instead of just good was the way they set their own expectation of what's possible was different, right? Because I think when you set reasonable, easily achievable goals, you're really limiting what you think is possible, right? And that's, very human, but I think it limits us tremendously.
I think
And,
so.
yeah,
The flip side of like what I've tried to learn is like celebrating the wins along the way. It's like
yeah,
sometimes we have like such massive
yeah.
goals, it can be challenging to appreciate. And I think one thing that I would love to talk more about is like you kind of touched on this idea of like enjoying the process and like the progress that you're making. It's not even necessarily about that end goal, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
I'll tell you one I had this morning on that topic that's not, to do with work, but I was saying that I'm moving in a couple of days, and going to be closer to my kids' school and activities and friends and things, which is the right move for my life and their life. And the last few years, we've been half an hour away, and it was really, the first chapter of me being a single dad. And today I was like looking at it, and I hadn't actually paused for a moment and said, hey, great job, by the way, the last couple of years. Like you showed up for those kids day in, day out. Sure, you had a 1 hour road trip to all the birthday parties and schools and activities. Every single one of those drives, you were present, you were listening, you were available, you were setting high standards for how they show up. Um, and did a bunch of things I've never done before, like or been responsible for in terms of all the little things with kids and making lunches and all these little things. But it's like I hadn't actually paused for them and said, "Hey, good work, man!
yeah.
Like, good
Yeah.
job! Like you
Yeah.
did it. Like you did it really well." And it's not about like I'm done because my broader goal is. I mean, I can say this. I want to be the best dad in the world, right? Like, and I'm going to hold myself to that standard. Nobody's going to give me a medal one day and say you did it. But my kids are going to feel that it's that important to me, and I'm going to be better and better at it, all the time. So I think coming back full circle to your point on like celebrating the wins along the way, that was one where, um, I paused for a moment today and I was like, whoa, give yourself a little like, give yourself a little high five here, not like, not a podium, but like, a bit of a halftime, we're up
Yeah.
10 kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, okay.
okay, let's go. Let's keep it going. Now we got more work to do, but let's not dismiss, the progress, right?
Yeah, I think progress is like the closest thing to happiness that can be like achieved. It's like this
Yeah,
it just feels like I feel like at times in my life where I'm like moving in the right direction. It's things feel
yeah,
like they're flowing and moving. The only time that I ever really feel down is if I feel like there isn't, for the most part, like it's kind of a
progress.
generalization, but yeah, it was like there isn't progress. Like if I feel like I'm stuck, if I have the same problems today that I had several years ago, like that is the stuff that like
Yeah.
hurts, you know?
It's been studied. There's an article, it's in one of the Harvard Business Review magazines on point, focused specifically on goals. And they did a study on people having a good week or a bad week at work. And short version is a good week and a bad week typically have the same number of setbacks. But the people that said they had a good week made progress against those setbacks. And the people that said it was a bad week didn't make progress against the setbacks. So I've
Mm.
actually, one of the things that I've worked in is Wednesday, midday, lunchtime, I count the setbacks. I'm like, okay, what are the things that are hard that went off track that are not where they're supposed to be right now? And I know that for me to go and have a great weekend, those are the things that I need to make significant progress on. So you were
Yeah.
saying as a feeling like that if you make progress, then everything's good. It's actually it's a studied thing that it's the setbacks are typically the same. It's just your progress that determines if you feel that it was things are good or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. That's
yeah,
yeah, I never actually, I guess, slowed down to really think about that too much. But yeah, I mean that makes sense to me. You're a very ambitious person, and for the last segment of the show, um, I actually would like to focus works for you is just on like your professional ambition of like, you know, you'd mentioned like you want to become the best talent leader in the world, like which is pretty consistent with our theme of like, hey, let's really shoot for the stars and like have like a lofty, inspiring goal, like an inspiring goal, right? And that clearly is that. And I am curious though. So we've talked about essentially like the psychology behind this and the why behind this. But I would like to get your thoughts on like in terms of actionable steps when you think about achieving that, like
yeah,
how do you think about getting there?
yeah. So there's a few categories. The way that I would map it out, sitting in a leader of a talent function, again, it comes back to segmenting out the different parts of the job and then saying quantifiably what does best in the world look like for the volume components, the quantity of a recruiting function, how many screens, interviews, et cetera, what's best in the world look like, quality, what does it best in the world look like, candidate experience, diversity, all these elements, what's best in the world look like. And as a function, you can basically create a scorecard on a scale of 1 to 10 based on your scores across all these areas with perfect score at 10 being best in the world. From there, map out the progress steps that you need to make to get closer and closer to a 10. So that's the way that I approach it from a talent function perspective. In terms of self-development, I would lean in 2026, I think to be best in world, you're also going to have an AI skill set that's best in world, right? So I think, you know, even if your goal wasn't best in world, but just getting better, your ability to leverage AI to do your work needs to be increasing at a faster rate than AI's usability is. In other words, we've all seen that graph of how steep the curve is just ripping upwards in terms of things that you can do. You can't be lagging behind that curve, right? Like if anything, your curve should be running, you want your curve to be running at a steeper rate of development and learning. So I mean, so when I think about what that really means, when I think about my AI skills, I need to 2x them every quarter. Like literally what I can do with AI in terms of what I can build from workflow or agent perspective, an efficiency perspective, I need to be twice as good every 3 months because that's the rate AI is developing. Huh? And I think if we're actually honest with ourselves, we're all doing, probably at least 30%, 40% just by showing up. If you spend an extra like dedicated, again, consistency. If you say 3 hours a week, I'm going to do nothing but build and not motion, action, not read some articles, not attend a webinar, get in there and put some reps in, right? Decide something you're going to build and say, I'm not going to theorize. I'm not going to plan. I'm just going to get in there and say, okay, what are my next steps? How do I do that? Okay, and set very clear goals on what you're actually trying to accomplish, what you're trying to build, have dedicated time, make it consistent. And if it's 3 hours a week or 4 hours a week, be consistent with that time. And again, I think thinking about it as, do you want to be the best with AI in the craft of recruiting? What does that look like? What can that person do? You know, the way I used to do it, like think about it early on in my career when we talk about best in the world, is I think about Jordan, right? Like I was, I grew up with basketball, so that was an easy analogy for me. But I remember breaking it down because I went to this, the big aha moment for me was I went to, have you ever heard of five-star basketball camp?
No.
So it was this like, high school kind of like one of these prospect camps where some of the best players in the US all go to a camp for all the D1 coaches to come take notes, recruit, etc. And I went to that camp, and there was some NBA All Stars there. There was like Ron Artest was there, and Elton Brand, and a bunch of other guys that all went big D1. And I was pretty good, but I went there, and these guys were way better. Like it wasn't even close, right? Like I had no business being on the court with Ron Artest. He was scary. Like they called him Ronnie Coast to Coast. I don't know, for people that don't know who Ron Artest is. He's the guy that got in the fight where they went into the stands and started hitting people. And he's not wired all the way right, but he's 6'8", 240 when he was 19 years old, and he used to just run from one end of the floor to the other and just knock over whoever's in the way and then dunk on them, maybe elbow you in the face. But I remember playing with those guys and being like, I don't understand how good Michael Jordan is then. How can this be one generation's better, not even best players, and he's better than every single generation of these by a huge distance. And I think that was the first time I really opened up my eyes in terms of what like best in world really means, and how high a level it was, and how huge a distance outstanding performance to best in world really is. So I think if you start actually comparing the work you do against that. And maybe, for me, the domain's basketball, but some people have other domains, hobbies, or things that they relate to really well. But I think finding one that you can draw an analogy towards and say, what does best in world look like there? And then comparing that to the work that you do. Um,
Yeah.
and then setting your goals against those things and trying to make progress against that. I think it's a really fun process.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a pretty cool experience. And you're right. It must have been it's like to see people operating and playing at such a high level, and then again, like seeing that there's another level. It's like always that there's always another level, right? It's another I think an interesting
Yeah.
psychological like human trait or thing. I don't know what to call it exactly. It's
Right.
like we've all heard the stories of somebody in the Olympics like crushes a world record, and then a lot of other people follow and achieve like also break the world record.
Yeah.
uh, like have you heard of this before, where
Yes.
like this
Yeah.
is it's like this psychological like nobody thought it was possible
Yeah.
until somebody did it, and then that becomes the standard of what to achieve as like the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's humans are awesome. I mean, as soon as possible's like redefined, then all of a sudden what we can do changes as well.
I think about that too. It's like also it's like this idea of like achieving the like thinking and closing the gap where the best of the world is, but it's also interesting to wonder, it's like, well, is there like is there another level we could tap into there?
Yeah. Like
Like,
that was the mile, right? I think that's where it happened. Like nobody, they said it was impossible of breaking the
right.
4 minute mile. And then all of a sudden one person does it and then 10 more do it within like a couple of months or whichever. And this, I mean, that marathon runner, can we just for a moment, like that makes no sense to me. Running that fast for that long, this under 2 hour
I heard
marathon,
about
it's
this. Is this like
insane. The guy ran, there's two
how
of them.
fast was it?
An
Let
hour
me
59 to run 26
Oh
miles.
my
So
God.
that's what's a mile? It's anyway, I was thinking about it in
Yeah, what
kilometers.
is that? What is that? Like, dude, just like, what is
It's
that?
like 13 miles an hour is how fast you're running. It's like I don't know if I can I think I can sprint that fast for like 100 meters, but I'm not sure. But a marathon at that speed is insane. It's
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
yeah,
Like, let me see what that is. Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, over 13, basically, yeah, just over 13 miles per hour. So that, what's yeah, oh, like supposed to be doing the math in my head. I was like,
Oh, good.
yeah, okay, so that's an average of under a 5 minute mile.
Right, for
Yeah,
26,
it's like four minutes and 35 seconds per mile.
which is insane. Like, and that used to
Holy.
be that used to be the world record for 1 mile, right? That like
Dude.
that used to be and used to be considered. We were just talking about it. You used to think it was impossible to do a 4 minute mile, and now somebody's doing 26 4.5 minute miles. So that now that somebody's broken that marathon under 2 hours, next couple of years, there'll be a dozen others that do it.
Yeah, guys from Kenya, I'm not gonna I can't unfortunately I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not gonna try. But yeah, he's he just broke it. Yeah, that is nuts.
Yeah, and there was a guy, the guy that finished second broke it too.
What? What is going
Yeah,
on?
yeah. Humans are awesome. And do
Is it
some great.
like do the shoes have anything to do? I know they're coming out with like new shoes that like that they're like are they
I'm
does that
sure it
have
doesn't.
anything to do with it? Like I know
I'm sure it doesn't
they
hurt.
banned some of these shoes, like some of these new
Yeah,
shoes that like propel you or whatever. I don't know.
yeah. I mean,
Crazy.
yes, the shoes also just evolution.
Oh yeah, I know like the whole
You
psychological,
know,
it's 100%
yeah,
part of it, but it's like I'm also like
yeah,
it's
yeah. That would
insane.
actually be a good name for a shoe, evolution, or like the Nike Air Darwins or something like
Yeah, for sure.
that. Yeah,
Wow, wow. Well, MK man, this has been
yeah.
a really fun episode. I thought was like super interesting and just like hearing your story and like different experiences that you've had throughout your life and your psychology behind like business and leadership and success is really interesting and thought-provoking and valuable to our audience. So I just want to say thank you for coming on today and contributing to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. This was fun. I really enjoyed the format and yeah, the way our conversation went. And thanks for inviting me and love what you're doing here, man. Like, talking to people about their lives, their experiences, how that shows up in terms of the work that they do and what they're most passionate about was a really fun experience for me. So thank you.
That's awesome.